Wednesday, December 29th, 2004, was supposed to be the last hard day of Katherine Stobaugh's life. For months, the 43-year-old kindergarten teacher had been fighting a silent war inside her own home. She was fighting to escape a controlling marriage. She was fighting to start over. And she had finally won. The divorce papers were drawn up. The court date was set for the very next morning. In less than 12 hours, a judge was going to bang a gavel, and Katherine was going to be a free woman. She had a new house waiting for her. She had her money secured. She was standing at the finish line. But at 10 p.m. that night, she made a fatal decision. She drove back to her estranged husband's farm in Sanger, Texas, one last time. She never drove back out. The next morning, police found her beige Lincoln Town Car parked in the driveway. The keys were still in the ignition. Her purse was gone. And Katherine Stobaugh had vanished into thin air. When investigators asked her husband where she was, he didn't seem worried. In fact, Charles Stobaugh had a story ready. He told them, "She looked at me and said, 'You might never see me again.'" It was a statement that explained everything. It was the perfect alibi. Or it was the perfect lie. To understand why Katherine, known to everyone as Kathy, was so desperate to leave, you have to understand the man she was leaving, Charles Stobaugh. When they met in college, he was rugged and charming. But over the years, on their isolated farm in Sanger, that charm had hardened into absolute control. They lived on 100 acres of land, cut off from the neighbors. Kathy worked around his schedule. She lived by his rules. But Kathy wasn't just a victim. She was a strategist. She knew that leaving a man like Charles required a plan. She didn't just run out the door. She built an exit ramp, brick by brick. First, she went back to school in secret. She earned her degree and secured a job teaching kindergarten at Nokana Independent School District. She secured her own income. Then she secured her safety net. She and Charles had roughly $77,000 in a joint savings account. Kathy didn't steal it. On the eve of serving him the papers, she withdrew exactly half, down to the penny, and opened her own account. Fair, legal, smart. She rented a house in town. She hid the guns in the house because she feared Charles's temper. And she wasn't doing this alone. This is the detail that makes what happens later so heartbreaking. Her daughter, Cherie, helped her. Cherie went with her mother to pick out furniture for the new rental house. By December 2004, she wasn't just talking about leaving. She was gone. She had moved out in May. She had filed for divorce. But Charles refused to accept it. He ripped up the papers when the service server arrived. He wouldn't sign the settlement. He wouldn't agree to the terms. The court was going to force his hand on December 30th. He was out of time, and he knew it. She had the house. She had the money. She had the furniture her daughter helped pick out. She was safe. But at 10 p.m. that night, she made a fatal decision. She drove back to her estranged husband's farm in Sanger, Texas, one last time. She never drove back out. The next morning, police found her beige Lincoln Town Car parked in the driveway. The keys were still in the ignition. Her purse was gone. And Katherine Stobaugh had vanished into thin air. Kathy arrived at the farm on Metz Road around 10 p.m. We don't know exactly why she went. Maybe to sign one last paper to ensure the hearing went smoothly. Maybe to pick up one last box. According to Charles, they argued. He told police that the fight ended and he watched her get in her car and drive away into the night. But when Charles woke up the next morning, the scene had changed. Kathy's beige Lincoln Town Car was back. It was parked in his driveway. The keys were inside, but Kathy was gone. His explanation? He told police that during their argument, Kathy looked at him and said, "You might never see me again." He wanted police to believe that this woman, who had just signed a lease, bought furniture, and fought for months to get her freedom, had suddenly decided to walk into the darkness and disappear voluntarily. It made no sense. Kathy was reliable. She was a teacher. She had 2 children. She had never used her passport. She hadn't touched her bank account. Police arrived and searched the 100-acre farm. They brought cadaver dogs. They dug up dirt. They found nothing. No murder weapon, no blood, no shallow grave. Charles Stobaugh had a 100-acre head start, and he used it well. Without a body, the police were stuck. Charles claimed she walked away to start a new life, but investigators looked inside her car. Her contacts were there, her reading glasses were there, and most chilling of all, her shoes were not on her feet. Who walks away from a new life barefoot? In the wake of the disappearance, the family didn't just grieve, they shattered. On one side, you had Kathy's brother, Chris Monday. Chris wasn't just a grieving sibling, he was a police officer. He looked at the facts, the divorce, the money, the timeline, the no body. To him, it was clear. He believed Charles murdered his sister to stop the divorce. But on the other side, you had Kathy's own children, her daughter Cherie and her son Tommy. They were young adults, not children, and they made a shocking choice. They stood by Charles. They told investigators that their father was innocent. They suggested their mother might have run away to start a new life or had a mental break. They refused to believe their father, the man who raised them, was a monster. Imagine the tension. A brother trying to put his brother-in-law in prison while his niece and nephew fight to keep him free. In court, the daughter Cherie, the same daughter who helped Kathy pick out furniture for her new life, sobbed on the stand. She told jurors that she and her brother needed their father. She defended him. For 5 years, this stalemate held. Charles refused to take a polygraph. He refused to let police search the house without a warrant. He lived on the farm, a free man, while Kathy's file gathered dust. The children protected their father. They hung up the phone on their uncle. They refused to believe the truth. But the sheriff didn't need their permission. He needed a jury. And in November 2009, nearly 5 years after she vanished, he finally came for Charles Stobaugh. But arresting Charles was the easy part. Keeping him was the battle. After his arrest in November 2009, Charles didn't just walk free. He was hit with a staggering $1 million bond. Although it was later reduced to $100,000, Charles remained locked inside the Denton County Jail for over a year. He didn't spend this time at home on the farm. He sat in a cell for 14 months, waiting for his day in court. But he wasn't idle. Behind the scenes, a high-stakes legal chess match was raging. His defense team wasn't just preparing for a trial, they were trying to prevent it from ever happening. They filed motions to dismiss the case entirely, arguing that the lack of a body meant there was zero physical proof that a crime had even occurred. Prosecutors had to fight tooth and nail just to keep the murder charge from being thrown out before a jury even saw it. And during this specific window, the house divided, fractured completely. While Kathy's brother was working with prosecutors to build the case, Kathy's own children, Cherie and Tommy, were regular visitors at the Denton County Jail. They sat across the glass from the man accused of murdering their mother, offering him their unwavering support. It took over a year of this legal and emotional warfare, but finally, the prosecutors won the right to be heard. In February 2011, the doors of the courthouse opened. The trial in 2011 was a long shot. Prosecutors had no physical evidence, no DNA, no body. But they had the timeline. They had the finish line. They argued that Charles killed her to avoid the divorce settlement. They showed the jury that a woman on the verge of freedom doesn't just walk away barefoot. And the jury agreed. They saw through the lies. They found Charles Stobaugh guilty of murder. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. It felt like a miracle. Justice had been served without a body. But the gavel came down. Guilty. It felt like the end. But Charles Stobaugh knew something the jury didn't. In Texas, if you hide the body well enough, the law has a loophole, and he was about to step right through it. He appealed, and in 2014, 3 years into his sentence, the Texas Court of Appeals made a ruling that shocked the state. They overturned the conviction. Their reasoning? They said there was insufficient evidence. Specifically, they ruled that without a body, the state hadn't proven that Kathy was even dead. And if they couldn't prove she was dead, they couldn't prove Charles killed her. The ruling essentially said, if you are efficient enough to erase the victim completely, you cannot be convicted. In January 2014, the jail doors opened. Charles Stobaugh walked out. He hugged his children. He went back to his farm. He was a free man. Today, Charles Stobaugh lives his life. Legally, he is an innocent man, but Kathy Stobaugh is still gone. Her bank account remains untouched. Her passport remains unused. The children she loved have grown up without her. The finish line she built, the degree, the house, the savings, is all gone. This case forces us to ask a terrifying question. Can you commit the perfect crime? Is the legal system set up to reward the killer who is efficient enough to erase all traces? Kathy was 12 hours away from freedom. Now, she is frozen in time forever. What do you think? Did the appeals court make the right legal call, or did they let a murderer walk free on a technicality? And what about the items in the house? Do you believe a woman buys furniture for a new life only to run away the next day? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe victims like Kathy deserve to be remembered, please like and subscribe. It helps us keep their stories alive.